Another episode of our Canadian Immigration Weekly Roundup. Welcome to the channel. My name is Kubeir. I am a CICC licensed immigration consultant. Today's episode is a bit more, I don't know, should I call it concerning, interesting? Should I call it more full of content? I do not know what to call it, but I guess I would leave that to you as we prod along in this episode. One of the main subjects for today's episode is going to be about the glitches that IRCC is facing in express entry in the systems, which is causing the delays in the express entry draws. And we've got that on an email now from IRCC. Not only that, what are we expecting in 2023? If the year has started with such a damp squid, if you want to call that, then what are we expecting in 2023? Is it good? Is it bad? Is it tepid? What can we expect? So all of that is what we are going to discuss in today's episode. So let's get started with that. Starting with the quote of the week. I can't change the direction of the wind, but I can adjust my sails to always reach my destination, said Jimmy Dean, which is such a great and a profound statement. Obviously, there are so many things in your life that are not in your hands, that are not in your control. But what is in your control, that is something which you can certainly do. And this also resonates when you are whether you wish to pursue your dreams in Canadian immigration. So many times the programs are not in your favor, the streams are not in your favor, the draws are not in your favor. But what is in your hands or in your favor is your effort, your time, your perseverance that you can rely upon. And using that, sometimes you might just be able to change the way things are in your stride, and based on that you could actually be able to achieve what might otherwise seem impossible or difficult. This is the Canadian Immigration Weekly Roundup. Stay up to date with us on Canadian immigration trends and news on TikTok. Of course, I don't know why we have TikTok, but yeah, we have TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, of course, and Twitter. Starting with the PNP draws, of course, there was no express entry draw, and I'm going to talk to you in a bit, but we had the provincial nominee draw. We were hoping that this year would start with an express entry draw, but instead it started with a provincial nominee draw on the 4th of January. BCPNP initiated with issuing 211 invitations to the skilled immigration candidates, and 163 were invited across the general draw categories, and the other remaining were invited in the targeted draws. These were mainly factoring upon early childhood educators and assistants and on the healthcare industries. For people who are not aware, for British Columbia, except for one program, you need an employer job offer support in order to be eligible for that program. Obviously, we have had no other news, and that's why the biggest news has been the express entry no draw, the draw that did not happen, the draw that we were so highly anticipating, and it did not happen. 4th of January, we were really hoping, their fingers were crossed, everything was crossed, and we were expecting the draw to happen, which did not happen. It has actually put a lot of stress, I guess a lot of plans have been ruffled up with this draw not happening. This is the third consecutive draw that did not happen. The last draw, if I will pull that up, give me a moment. I should have it here. Yes, of course I have it here. The last draw that happened, express entry no draw, was on the 23rd of November with the score of 491. 4750 invitations were issued. That was the 11th all program draw for the year 2022. And from there on, this was the analysis for the 23rd of November, because the pool breakdown was available to us as of 22nd of November. As you can see, total number of profiles that got added into the pool with scores of 500 plus was approximately 2,000. And that's what created a lot of stress, because moving on from here, a lot of people at that point of time on the 23rd of November were expecting, including me, we were expecting that the draws will drop below 490 and come back to 480s. And hopefully a lot of people who are stuck in that number would be able to get their invitation. The draw on the 7th of December didn't happen. The draw on the 21st of December didn't happen. And those two draws already created so much of stress there. And then from there on, with all expectations being blown out of out of the water. 4th of January draw also did not happen. Now, there are so many, there are so many theories around it as to why the draws did not happen, that the draws will happen only by the time the Bill C-19 is introduced, etc., etc., etc. But this is what we have. So one of our group members sent an email out to the stakeholder committee or engagement team in IRCC, and they asked for why the draws are not resuming. And IRCC did respond. Thankfully, at least some communication came back from IRCC. It said, we are aware of the ongoing IT issues impacting the new and existing express entry clients, including those in the provincial nominee program, following the implementation of NOC 2021. We are closely examining this issue and we are working as quickly as we can to resolve it. We will advise clients as soon as we have more information. I doubt it very much. We don't announce express entry rounds in advance, and you can learn and blah, blah, blah. So this is the only communication we have been able to see from IRCC, which accepts and acknowledges the challenges they are facing with the IT. I mean, if you remember, I guess I was one of those only few people who came out and said that there is a possibility that the systems are going to crash. I mean, I don't have any faith in the IRCC portals or the systems. We have been seeing glitches forever. There was another very, very big glitch that happened much earlier, but then because of all that, I was under the impression that there could be a pause of 1 or 2 draws. I definitely did not expect that they will not be able to get a handle on things for even 3 draws. And that's what's happening right now. Thankfully, at least IRCC has come out and accepted that this is the issue that they are having, and that is one of the reasons, or rather the main reason, why the draws are not being conducted. Now, mind you, the reason why I never thought or I never believed that IRCC is going to put a pause on the draws until, as a lot of you have been speculating, until spring, until later, until Bill C-19 kind of a thing. And the reason for that is that even if they do not want to conduct all program draws, let's say for the sake of argument, for the sake of debate, for the sake of speculation, we go along with the theory that they don't want to conduct draws because of Bill C-19. Though I don't believe in it, I don't think that's true. They still have to conduct the PNP draws. And the reason why they have to conduct PNP draws is because the federal, which is IRCC, has an agreement with PNPs, which is provinces, that they would conduct express entry draws regularly, because provinces are issuing nominations. The nominations have a validity of 6 months. Sometimes people make a mistake, their applications get rejected, they are able to get another nomination or get the same nomination linked to the profiles. But if the draws do not happen, those nominations will expire, completely making everything that provinces have done, completely, that'll become all futile. So therefore, there is that agreement between IRCC and PNPs, so that IRCC will conduct express entry draws, even if it is only for PNPs. That is the reason why you saw in the year 2021, 2020, when the COVID was at its peak, that IRCC was continuing with the PNP draws, even if they had held back on the CEC draws, even if they were not conducting all program draws. PNPs continued because that is something which they have to. Similarly, when the last 3 draws have not happened, it is not because they don't want to conduct the draws. It is simply because of those glitches, the problems that they're facing in their IT systems. They simply just cannot. Earlier, when they did conduct the draw on the 23rd of November, actually, I was not expecting 23rd November draw, because the NOC system changed on the November 16. On the 23rd November, I was absolutely anticipating the draw will not be there because of the glitches. They still went and did it, but then the glitches came to forefront because a lot of people who should have received the ITA did not get the ITA. A lot of people who shouldn't have received the ITA, they did get their ITA. A lot of people could not update their scores, they could not update their profiles, and it was a total mess. Obviously, better sense prevailed. IRCC did not conduct the draws because they wanted, but it's amazing that an organization of the strength of IRCC, with so much of resources at its disposal, with the federal who is pumping in so much of money in its budgets, there is nearly a $750 million infusion which is going towards the advancement of technology in IRC. I mean, like, look at the systems. I mean, $750 million, and this is what you have, and you still can't get it working. I mean, come on, guys. I mean, you're supposed to be a first world country, right? You're supposed to be a country which has amazing resources. You can get things done, and yet with a system like what you have, these are the issues, and you still can't get it sorted out. I mean, okay, you had an issue, it's acceptable. IT systems are like that, right? Whenever you launch a new program, whenever you launch a new version, there can be teething issues, there can be small bugs. Acceptable. We can all learn to live with it because we are already living with that. But 2 months down the line, we are still having the same issues and no resolution. And worst of all, the biggest problem that we are having is lack of communication. IRCC just doesn't come and say anything. And until they're going to say anything, we will not know what the hell is going on. And that only, generates more speculation, more issues, more confusion. Obviously, the stress level, the anxiety levels go to a total different, stretch altogether. However, you need to calm down. Okay. However, now that we know that this is because of the IT systems, we know that hopefully they would work it out. Now, the next expectation is basically back to the next draw. And hopefully, whenever the next draw happens, IRCC will hopefully, fingers crossed, have probably a invitation draw of at least the same number, definitely not reduced, or of at least slightly larger number. That's the wishful thinking. I don't see any incentive or motive that IRCC has to have a bigger draw size. They can conduct a draw next week as well. Hope if at all their systems are in order, if at all things have been better. But I don't have faith there. So let's say the next draw, which is anticipated on the 18th of January now, if they do conduct a draw, my anticipation is that the scores are going to be more than 500 this time. I don't see any which ways where the scores can be less than 500 in this particular draw. And that is simply and only because of the number of profiles that keep getting added into the pool with scores of more than 500. Also, keep in mind, and this time it's more important, is that since the draws did not happen, 3 consecutive draws did not happen, which basically means there are going to be nearly 3,000, approximately, give or take, 3,000 provincial nominee applicants also waiting. That is the average number I'm going to put it at. Could be 2,500, could be 3,000, could be even more. I don't know. But that is the average number of people who would be in the pool with the scores of 600 plus, 2,500, between 2,500 to 3,000. That is what I am thinking. With that high number of PNPs in the pool, no matter how many invitations they're going to issue. I mean, I don't expect them to issue a lot of invitations, probably 5,000. Again, wishful thinking. I would really want to put my neck out on the line and say maybe 6,000, but that would be like excellent. That would be great. But even in spite of all of this, I don't see the scores going below 500 in the first draw that happens. Scores are probably going to be higher in the 500s, like 505, 506 kind of a score. Again, it depends a lot depends on how many invitations and how many people are there in the pool. From there on, from that high score of 500 plus, again, the cycle has to start. And again, the draws have to continue. The draws have to continue with the big invitation size, with big ITA numbers, so that the scores can drop again back below to 500, sub 500, then sub into 490s, and then hopefully sometime at 480s. So this is basically how it's looking like. And let's get back into our presentation. So in the other news, what else do we have? Canada breaks a record by welcoming new immigrants. Well, that's all they're interested in, breaking the records, but not in looking after what should have happened in terms of communication with people. Anyways, so IRCC tweeted and said that they have welcomed more than 437,000 people in the year 2022. And this is again another record. They haven't actually ever gotten so many people in 1 year. I think the last time it happened was in early 19th century. At that point of time, or was it early 19th century. At that point of time, they had more than 400,000 people who came to Canada as newcomers, who immigrated to Canada. And this is only after that now they have 437,000. Obviously, next year's target are more, 465,000. Let's see how that gets achieved as well. And they have also committed to 50 million for IRCC in 2022 and 2023 in the economic statement, saying that this is to clear the backlog of applications. As of right now, 1.09 million applications across all lines of business is in the backlog until November 30th. This is not keeping into account a lot of the citizenship applications and a lot of permanent residence applications as well. The total backlog is roughly about 2.4 million applications or million people for temporary residents, permanent residents, and citizenship applications. So that number is still huge. I'm not sure when they're going to get. I mean, we've been listening to this number now from 2020. 2020, we knew the backlog is there. 2021, we saw the backlog is there. Whole of 2022, we knew the backlog is there. And yet, the first world country is still coming to terms with the backlogs. The good news, thankfully, there is also some good news, and that is the tier 0 to 5. So for people who do not know, if you are in Canada on a work permit, let's say you are here on a postgraduate work permit, let's say you're on a closed work permit, then your spouses are eligible to apply for an open work permit, provided your job, your occupation was under NOC 0, A or B. That was the earlier NOC before the tier system came. So under the new tier system, it was 0, 1, 2, 3. If your occupation, if your work experience, if your job was in this NOC codes, in this tier system, then your spouse was eligible to apply for work permit. The good news is, effective January the 30th, all occupations are now eligible. So spouses of every single occupation is now eligible to apply for an open work permit, except if you are a seasonal agricultural worker or agricultural worker under the temporary foreign worker program in tier 4 or 5. Only then your spouses are not eligible. For everybody else, for all NOC codes, no matter what your NOC code is, whether you're working in a restaurant, whether you're working in a factory, whether you are working as a nursing, as a personal support worker, whether you're working in I'm trying to think of all the NOC Cs and NOC Ds. You're working as an operator in a factory. You're working in a machine. What else is there? Delivery. You are self-employed. You're any kind of occupation that not self-employed. Any kind of occupation that you might be doing. Any kind of job you might be doing. If you have an open work permit, if you have a closed work permit, your spouses are now eligible to apply for an open work permit. So that's a good news. So this is a great attempt, or rather great effort, for family reunification. So something finally, thankfully, something good there. Now, IRCC systems are a mess, as we already know, and we already discussed that. What to expect in the year 2023? Now, that is the next big question. Mind you, I don't have too much of updates to give you within this week because nothing much happened except for the fact that the draw did not happen. And obviously, we were on a holiday until the January the 2nd anyways. So we came back to the office on the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, and then 4 days of work. And now we are back to the weekend. So nothing much happened except for one BC PNP draw. I guess all the other PNPs are now also gearing up to conducting their draws as we move forward. But let's talk about what to expect in the year 2023. What kind of changes are expected, anticipated, what can we do, what we cannot do, etc., etc., etc. So let's start with that. Okay. First one, continued imbalance between TRs and the PR quota. Now, this is not a good number, or this is not a good point to bring up, but I would like you to know, because a lot of people don't tell you that. A lot of people don't talk to you. The agents and consultants and the lawyers and anybody else whose interests are vested in you coming to Canada, they will tell you that Canada has an open door policy, that you can get a work permit without IELTS in 2 weeks. You can get an international student visa very easily. You can get a visit visa, which you can convert to a work visa easily. You will get sold all these kind of snake oil charms from all these people because their interest is in just making money out of you. But you are a smart person because you're watching this video. So obviously you have to be able to understand that there is already a huge number of temporary residents in Canada. I'm talking to you really 12 lakh people or 1.2 million people and counting. That number is only growing. Obviously, now that spouses of all occupations can also come to Canada as an open work permit, that number of TRs, temporary residents, is only going to grow. You will be very soon looking at that number reaching 1.5 million if it hasn't already reached. I don't have the official numbers, official statistics. I'm talking to you about based on the past year's statistics, and that number was already touching 1 million plus. So With that high number of people, how easy it is for them to become permanent resident, I will say it's very difficult. You can see that already. I'm not sure if you're following us on Twitter or not, but you can see so many international students who are already in Canada, so many workers who are already inside Canada, who obviously want to choose a pathway to become a PR, are able to just not find anything. They're not able to see any pathway. They're not able to see any route. There's nothing working out for them. There are agents and consultants who are willing to take their money, whether it's for job offers, LMIs, which, mind you, by the way, is illegal. Again, that is also not going anywhere. Money is taken, but nothing is delivered. There are employers who are manipulating, abusing, and basically, taking advantage of the situation, still not helping, and those guys are still not going ahead. At the end of the day, your scores matter. If you're not able to score high, then it's not going to work. Look at the scores, 500 plus. Who can score 500 plus? 29 years old, masters in Canada, 3 years of work experience, high IELTS scores, and you can have a 500 plus. Or if you're a francophone, you have French as a second language, you can go 500 plus. Or if you have an LMIA job offer or an ICT closed work permit job offer, you can get to 500 plus. Or you have a job offer in a NOC 00 position with 200 points, you can go to 500 plus. For everybody else, get into the queue, wait for your turn to come, and then we will see whatever happens whenever that happens. So not a good sign, not a good scene there. So whenever you get told, come to Canada, convert your visit visa to work permit, ask them how. How is it going to happen? Just don't watch these TikTok videos and these YouTube videos where they say like this. And they make all these kind of silly, funny, and ridiculous actions, and they try to tell you that you can get a work permit in 2 weeks without IELTS, without LMI, and all that bull, and you fall for it. Okay, don't do that. Be smart. Understand what the program is. Understand what the stream is. Don't fall for all these fancy advertisements which says it's a walk in the park. If you're an international student considering Canada, be very, very smart. Why do you want to come to Canada? Is it going to be easy? If you are coming to Canada with the thought or with the understanding that you will become a permanent resident, you have to know that it's not going to be easy. You have to have your path clearly laid out. You have to understand by studying in Canada, what are the pathways that will take you to permanent resident? Is it going to be achievable? Because if you are in the scores of 300s and you're not going to work on your IELTS, then it's going to be very difficult, because once you come here, you will need the employer support. So if you're coming to Canada as an international student, even if now you're preparing to do that, come to Canada. Ahlan wa sahlan. You're most welcome. Do it. But be very smart. The day you land, you should start looking for an employer who's going to help you with the job offer, who's going to support you. Mind you, in the days coming forward, if you cannot secure support from an employer, getting your Canadian PR is going to be almost not possible. I don't want to use the word impossible. I'm just going to say almost not possible. It's going to be extremely difficult. You are now in a rat race with more than 1.2, 1.3 million people who also want the same thing. And the quotas are not in your favor. Let's say each year under the economic immigration program, and let me see if I can pull that up as well, because I should have that. Hold on. I do have it. All right, there you go. Under the economic immigration program, you have a total of 266,000 quota for 2023. 266. Out of 266, mind you, there is Atlantic immigration program of 8,500. There is caregiver and agri-food pilot, which most of you are not going to be in, 8,500. Then there is federal business, which is startup visa and self-employed, which is 3,500. And then there is 25,000 for TR to PR old applications, which also are not for you. So basically what I'm saying is the total number of economic immigration quota is only about 230,000 applications. No, sorry, 230,000 people. So if your quota for the whole year is only 230,000 people, and there are 1.2, 1.3 million of you out there, do the math, guys. Simple math. Can you get it? Can you make it? Can you break it? Is it going to happen? And we are not even talking about people outside Canada. We are only talking about people inside Canada. If you cannot make it happen, people outside Canada already have it so difficult. If you are inside Canada, you have everything going for you in terms of the Canadian experience points, Canadian education points, job offers, employer support, PNPs, provincial nominee programs. And yet, if you cannot make it happen, this is going to be very difficult. And hence, please, please, please pay attention to this. Do not fall into the trap of feeling and believing that because you're inside Canada, it's going to be a walk into the park. It's not. 2023, in my opinion, in this view of imbalance between TRs and the PR quota, it's going to be really difficult, and therefore you should be very careful about it. Next on my list is implementation of Bill C-19. Implementation of Bill C-19, as expected and as stated by IRCC, their IT systems will be ready for this implementation by spring of 2023. If we have to believe IRCC's IT systems, then yeah, I mean, they are claiming they will be ready by spring 2023. Now, I have some very serious doubts if at all they are equipped to do anything with their IT systems at all. They will continue to work on this current system that they have in Express Entry. At some point of time, they are planning to, introduce a new system. I do not know when that will happen. So as long as the current system continues, if they are making changes for the new Bill C-19 implementation, post-spring, I don't think, in my opinion, I don't think spring they can manage the changes. Even if the changes are there, it'll be full of glitches again. There is no doubt about it. I don't have an iota of doubt on that one. But as far as the publication, as far as the information available is concerned, the IT systems will be ready by post-spring. Now, that is one thing. Second thing is, by the month of February, the Parliament will have to make a decision, will have to announce the categories that would be taken into consideration, that will be factored into the Bill C-19. That information will be available to us in the month of February, which is on the 5th sitting day of the Parliament after the 31st December deadline and 31st January deadline. And therefore, you will have more information as to whether your occupation will be considered, whether your factor points will be considered, would you be eligible, should you be looking forward to this or not. All of that information, hopefully, we will have in February when we can talk more about in details. And from there on, it will be implemented somewhere after spring. I do not know when, because IRCC says their systems will be ready. I don't have any faith in that. But let's see how that goes. Until such time, in my opinion, Express Entry draws in its current state should continue. And if they continue, hopefully, depending on the number of invitations coming into and how many invitations they keep issuing, you'll see a drop in the scores. And based on the drop of the scores, hopefully we can see a scores of 480s being hit sooner than later. So that's your Bill C-19. I know a lot of people are freaking out, but it can be good for some, because if your occupation is included in the categories, then you would have some. But also keep in mind, and that's another thing which people are not understanding, this whole Bill C-19 has been created keeping in mind that they want to give a lot of importance to the inside Canada applicants. The whole motion M44 was targeting inside Canada applicants. And therefore, Bill C-19, in my opinion, along with the occupation requirement, will also factor in certain Canadian components. So work experience, education, job offer, all those factors will also be included. And therefore, you will see a very complex Bill C-19 implementation. The categories cannot be only occupation-based. There could also be speculation yet. Okay, so please don't hold me on that one. It's speculation that, and I'm assuming that the categories would have to have certain additional component so that they can use this whole system and tool in a much better manner. And at the same time, also reduce this imbalance that has been created within the market of so many TRs who are not able to become PRs. So that is another thing to keep in mind. Bill C-19 sometime in post-spring. Third that I have for you is the revision of Express Entry. IRCC has already indicated in the document that they issued in response to motion M44, which was also named strategies to expand PR pathways. And that said that they are currently reviewing revision of Express Entry points. So when they are reviewing points, it basically means they are only probably looking to increase the points for Canadian work experience, education, job offer. These are the three main components. French points have already been increased twice, or rather they introduced once in 2017 and then they increased the points. They almost doubled it last year. So French, I'm not sure how much that's going to affect, but Canadian work experience, Canadian education, job offer. These three are the three main factors where I see that the points being revised. Now with these three, how much points are going to be revised? That's something which have to be seen. There is a lot of speculation. There are a lot of talks in the market. I'm not going to go into that, but again, this will benefit a lot of people inside Canada. If you're inside Canada, if you are not able to earlier go on top of the queue, now you will be able to do that as well. Again, it pushes back people who are outside Canada. They were already at a disadvantage. They were already not able to get those important Canadian points. And now with all these implementations, all these revisions, they will be further pushed back. But this revision of express entry, there is no date. I do not know when that will be done. It is only anticipated sometime this year. When this year, could be middle of this year, could be end of this year, could be the last date of this year. I don't know when that will happen. This is something still in the works. Fourth, PNPs will play a big role. Now the PNPs, and again, let me bring this for you here. Here, as you can see, the number of PNPs, the PNP target for 2023 is 105,500. Earlier, when the quotas were announced last year, for 2023, this number was only 85,000. So basically 20,000 increase in the quotas for PNPs, which is a big number, and which basically tells you that what you should be looking to do is attacking or absolutely concentrating on PNPs. But again, when we say PNPs, let's talk about PNPs, right? Very quickly. With PNPs, there are only three main PNPs which people outside Canada can take advantage of. First one is Ontario, which basically, except for the expression of interest streams, which needs a job offer, then people outside Canada can only take advantage of the human capital priority stream or the French speaker stream. French speaker streams also lately has started adding other conditions, whether it is occupation based or the level of the language. But the human capital priority stream is a great stream, whether it's a tech draw or the general priority occupations. Once the quotas have been increased and all the provinces have been given additional nominations, I'm expecting Ontario to get be a major beneficiary. They have always been, lobbying for additional quotas. They wanted to double their nomination quota. The nomination quota for this year was 9,750. I'm expecting they would go up to at least 13,000 or 14,000 at least. Again, a number, but with that number, which is going to be almost a 50% increase in their quotas, that is going to make a big difference. It basically means more invitations coming out for human capital priorities as well. Proportionally, of course, not all the benefit will come to human capital priorities, just a proportion of it. So earlier, if they were taking about 2,500 to 3,000 under the human capital priority stream, hopefully now they can take about 4,000. So that's another 1,000 people who are going to get benefit out of that. If you get invited, run with it. Don't wait too much. Currently, what's happening is express entry is uncertain. So if you get invited, then go with it. Ontario is always going to continue playing a big role. Obviously, the high CRS score is not something which makes it easy for you, but if you get invited, definitely go with it. Second province, which is very beneficial for people outside Canada, and that is Saskatchewan. Saskatchewan also great programs, whether you are eligible in express entry or not, OID stream and EE stream. Last year, they have invited lots and lots of people. Lots of people were given invitations, even for scores as low as 61 for certain categories, of course, for certain knock codes. But even for 61, that was a great score to get invited at. But 67, 68, 69, at different times during the last year, they have invited people at these scores. So if you're one of those people who get invited, then absolutely go with it. If you haven't yet created your profile on Saskatchewan, please do. Keep in mind, Saskatchewan gives you points only for one occupation, one knock code, in which you have to have continuous work experience for the last 10 years to get the maximum points. So that's something which you need to keep in mind. Plus, Saskatchewan also has the requirement that your work experience and your field of education needs to be same or related. If not, then you're not eligible. So keep those criteria in mind, but Saskatchewan is a great option. Third one is a Bermuda's Triangle, which nobody can understand, and that is Alberta. Alberta hasn't conducted a general draw for the last few months. Hopefully at some point of time this month or next, they should start again with their general draws. I know a lot of people have been waiting, but with Alberta, the problem is that they never ever announce who they're inviting, why they're inviting, what is the requirement, what is the criteria. It's a luck by chance. It's like a lottery. You create your express entry profile, hope and pray that your profile is something that Alberta is interested in, and then you roll with it. In the first few draws of Alberta, I don't expect people from outside outside. No, sorry. I don't expect people who do not have the Alberta component to be invited because they haven't held a draw for a very long time. All this while, they were inviting people, but they were inviting people only under the Alberta Accelerated Tech Pathway. So if you had the job offer, you were raising your expression of interest and you were getting invited. So those were the different categories. However, a lot of people who have LMIAs, who have job offers from Alberta, they have not been invited because there was no general draw. Hopefully, you should start seeing it in Jan or Feb. And from there on, even people who do not have the job offers can look forward to getting invited, but fingers crossed. Another province that also sometimes do invite people from outside, or anybody for that matter, is Nova Scotia, but there is no way to plan or prepare for Nova Scotia. Again, if they invite you, they invite you. Very recently, they have invited nurses from outside Canada as well, regardless of whether you have any certification or not. They've also invited ECE, early childhood educators, whether you have the Canadian license or certification or not. So, if you are from those categories of occupation, then it is always helpful. Provinces like Newfoundland and Labrador, New Brunswick, they are always on the lookout for something totally different. New Brunswick will always have recruitment events, recruitment sessions, information sessions. If you get an opportunity to attend one of those, most definitely do it, because that could lead to an invitation from the province whereby they can invite you. Apart from that, that's basically it. Any other province which I have not named is only because you need a job offer, you need some sort of employer support, or you need to have a connection to that province by way of relatives, and only then you would be eligible. And that's basically as far as the PNPs are concerned, but they definitely will play a huge role going forward because their quotas have gone up by 20,000. And actually for this year, their quotas are more than express entry. Express entry quota is only 82,880. PNP quota is 105,500, which is almost 23,000 more than the express entry. So you can only imagine how much of a difference this is going to make. All right, moving forward. French will continue to be a huge advantage. So if you are still on the fence about French language, then please quickly jump onto it. Add French as a second language. Not only can you improve your express entry scores with French language, you can also take advantage of a lot of PNP programs that are driven towards Francophone immigration. IRCC's mandate letter to Sean Fraser, the immigration minister, has also indicated increase of Francophone immigration throughout Canada, like outside Quebec. So you will see more and more provinces will start introducing newer streams, if they don't already have it, to encourage Francophone immigration. So if you're still on the fence for that, I think you definitely should start doing something with French and adding that as your second language, because that is where the most advantage will come if you are outside Canada. There is a new pilot program also in the works, which is the municipal level program. But again, outside Canada, it doesn't give you any advantage. This is again going to be for people inside Canada. If you are in that municipality, in that municipal area which has been identified, you will need support of the municipal authority, and you will need to get a job offer, and only then you will be eligible. However, the details of this program have not been announced, not been published. We expect this sometime towards later part of this year. Reunification of families for permanent residents and citizens. And I already told you earlier that they have allowed for open work permits for all occupations in Canada. It's very strange that they have done that for temporary residents, for workers in Canada, but they haven't done it for permanent residents or citizens. It's very strange. A lot of PRs, a lot of people who are married, who are permanent residents, who are citizens, even after they get married, they have no provision to invite their spouses to Canada. On the contrary, if their spouses apply for a visit visa, in most cases, their visit visas are refused because IRCC says, well, your spouse is in Canada, means your ties to Canada are stronger. Therefore, we think you will not return back. Like, duh, obviously they don't want to return back. They want to apply for PR. But while your PR application is being processed, they want to be with their family. It's normal. I mean, wouldn't you want to do that? But IRCC being IRCC, they have other thoughts, other things in mind. And therefore, this has been a huge bone of contention. This has also been a political agenda at some point of time. But for some reason, IRCC continues to play deaf with this thing. As per the mandate letter, this is expected that within this year, they would come up with something which would also indicate that there is an eligibility for spouses of permanent residents and citizens and their spouses. So for the spouses to come to Canada as either on a work permit or on a visit visa under the family reunification. Fingers crossed to see this one happening, because this is a cause of a severe stress for a lot of families. So if they can do that for temporary residents, they sure can do it for permanent residents as well. On the contrary, they should have done it for permanent residents already. So fingers crossed, and hoping that this one gets implemented sooner than later. And finally, on my list is the citizenship application fee is to be waived. This has been the political tune that liberals have been singing since 2019, almost 3 to 4 years back. And this was also in the mandate letter. And this is again, which was understood to be an implementation, is hoping to be implemented this year. There is a lot of expectation this should be done sooner than later. The citizenship application fee is to be waived. And again, no clear indication on the date, just the expectation that this should happen this year. This should have happened last year, didn't happen, but hopefully this should happen this year. So this is the outlook for 2023. This is what I expect, hope to see as and how things will progress, and a lot of things that a lot of you should be able to grasp from that and understand from that. Hopefully some of you will be able to take advantage if you are preparing well. But by and large, in my opinion, and I know a lot of you are going to give me flack for it, probably hate me for it, call me names for it, but I would rather be honest with you. I would rather be clear and transparent with you than to do it otherwise. And I am telling you right now, it's going to be very, very, very difficult for people outside Canada who have no Canadian connection. If you're still thinking it's going to be easy, then you really need to watch this video again, or probably something else again. So to understand, the numbers are not adding up. Canada just does not have enough quotas to call or invite people or to encourage people to come to Canada. They just do not have the availability of numbers. It is not going to be easy. There are more than 1.2 to 1.3 million people in Canada who are already here, who are looking for pathways. They're not able to get it. So outside Canada is even going to be more difficult. Every political party, every political agenda is only gearing up to give advantage to people inside Canada. Therefore, if you're watching this and if you're outside Canada, then you should be aware that it's going to become very difficult. What you can do is obviously keep your eyes on PNP, add French as a second language, still come to Canada as an international student. I'm not saying don't do that. I'm saying if you're coming to Canada as an international student, know your pathway well. And if you get approved, and if you do come from day one itself, your eyes should be on the ball. Your eyes should be a PR, and you should be able to chart your way out right from day one. Whether it's finding employer support, or whether whatever other pathway that would be. If you're a high scorer in CRS, for example, you're already at 475. You're coming to Canada with a 1-year program and 1-year work experience in mind, fair enough. But also keep Bill C-19 in mind, because Bill C-19 is not going to favor everybody. It will still favor only few. If you're choosing to study, what program should I study? What province should I come to? Look at provinces that have programs, or rather that have programs that are targeting international students without any work experience, without any employer support. For example, Ontario has a master's and a PhD program, whereby if you have completed master's, you are eligible, apply for nomination. If you've studied master's program in British Columbia in I think 7 different fields, complete your master's, apply for nomination. There are a couple of programs in New Brunswick and Newfoundland and Labrador. You are completing your graduate stream, or you're completing your postgraduate program or a master's, you apply for nomination. Target these programs, understand where these programs will take you, and then choose these programs to then come to Canada to study, and then chart your pathway for permanent residence. And that's probably how it's going to be. As I said, French is a great option. If you can do that, then excellent. And last one and final is finding an employer with a job offer. I know it's ridiculous, it's difficult, it's frustrating, but it's a fact. If you have an employer who can support you, that's going to be basically your ticket into the country. That's basically all I have to tell you in this episode of Canadian Immigration Weekly Roundup, as well as the fact as to what the outlook for 2023 is for this year. If you are still here, you haven't subscribed to the channel, then that is all I ask of you. Subscribe to the channel. I want to see those numbers going up so that more and more people can get the benefit of whatever I have to share. If you're not following us on Instagram, then please do. If you wish to make an appointment to discuss your case, your background, your profile one-on-one, then please, that is the appointment. I'll be happy to talk to you and explain these things to you in detail on a very specific level. If you wish to avail of our services, premium paid services, of course, we are a full-fledged Canadian immigration company, so we do offer immigration applications of all types. So yes, that's the email address. Drop us an email and we'll be happy to guide you further. If you are in Canada, in Toronto, in Ontario, feel free to visit our office and discuss with us what your options may be. That's the address, 201-2950 Keele Street, North York, Ontario. And hit the like button, hit boop on it, and sort of let this video go out to more and more people. But yes, of course, we're coming to the questions now. And let's see, there are plenty of questions. Let's see how many of yours can we take on today. All right, starting with the first one. Please, must the entire school fee be paid before the student visa is given? What if the visa is refused? Okay, good question. Well, there are two international student streams. First one is STS, second one is non-STS. If you are from a country, you're a resident of a country and you're a citizen of that same country and you're applying from that country for your study visa, and that country is eligible, I think it's 14 countries and under the SDS stream, then you must pay 1 year of college fee or 1 year of the tuition fee or the entire tuition fee upfront when you are applying for your study permit application. That is in addition to some other conditions. But if you're from any other country, or even if you're from that country, but if you do not wish to apply under the STS stream, then you can pay only the deposit fee, or you can pay only the first semester fee of the college and then apply for the study permit. If you get approved, depending on how the college is and what their terms and conditions are, you can pay the balance fee as per that. What proof can I use if I don't have driving license, utility bill, or lease agreement for PCC? I have no idea what you're referring to and which PCC you're referring to. If you're referring to the Indian PCC and you're referring to the requirement of the BLS, then I think you can call BLS and check with them. If you don't have a driving license, that's absolutely fine. You can also have the provincial ID. You can go to the provincial, for example, if you're in Ontario, you can go to Service Ontario and you can apply for the provincial ID in lieu of the fact that you don't have a driving license. You should also be able to provide certain alternative document, but you can always contact BLS and ask them what they would accept. I work fully remotely from home in Ontario for a Quebec company. What address should I put in work experience? Can I use my apartment lease to prove that I'm not in Quebec? Yes, it's not a problem. Even if you're working for a Quebec company, but you do not live in Quebec, but you live in Ontario, you are absolutely fine. You can apply in Canadian experience class and you can show your own address. That's not a problem. Employer is ready to process an LMIA, but it will take 3 to 5 months for the whole process. Will it be helpful if I get it after the implementation of Bill C-19? Your opinion, please. First of all, it doesn't take 3 to 5 months. From the start, it will take 3 months or less. I mean, we do so many LMIA applications. I can tell you it doesn't take more than 3 months. In very, very extreme cases, might take more than 3 months. But okay, I'm looking at the next comment. Sorry. So will it be helpful? I think it will be helpful. And even with Bill C-19, the LMIAs and the job offer will still have a huge priority. And the reason it will have a huge priority is because LMIAs address the labor market shortage in Canada. And because it addresses the labor market shortage in Canada, it will always have huge importance, huge priority. And therefore, I think even with Bill C-19 implementation, it would still have importance there, advantage there. How about hot girls? No one talks about dating. Pathetic. Well, I don't know whether that last word pathetic is for your own comment or for your own profile, but it seems like this is not the channel you should be at. I think there is a website called Pornhub. Probably you should go and check that out and spend your day there. And I'm sure there are plenty of other channels as well. That's where you should be spending your time at, not definitely here. Okay, I have 495 points waiting for draws. What will be the cutoff? I don't know what will be the cutoff, and I do not know what will be the number of invites. We have to just wait and watch. Can you talk about the category-based draws happening in parallel with the normal CRS remaining draws? Excuse me. All right. So in my opinion, again, it's speculation because nothing has been announced, so we don't know. In my opinion, in my understanding as well, I feel that the normal express entry draws will continue in parallel simultaneously in conjunction with the Bill C-19 draws. And how it probably is going to happen is that they will choose to segregate the number of invitations. So your express entry draw will no longer look as simple as it does. No program specified, so many invitations, so many, this is a score, that's it. You will probably see the categories, for each category how many invitations, for no program draw specified how many invitations, and total number of invitations issued, and what is the individual score. So they could have, for example, they want to issue 4,000 invitations. Out of 4,000 invitations, let's say they will say 1,000 invitations are for all program draws. Remaining 3,000 invitations would be segregated between different categories that have been, that have been announced, that have been published. That way, 4,000 invitations being issued, 1,000 for the regular express entry draws, 3,000 for the others. But the fact is, because it will be only 1,000 for the regular express entry draws, it only means that the scores are always going to be extremely high. Again, the advantage is going to be for people who are inside Canada because of the Canadian work experience points, education points, job offer points, francophone points, and therefore the scores are going to be high. So while I believe that there would be a draw for, which will go parallel for express entry general as well as Bill C-19, I don't see much advantage for people in express entry except for the top ranking profiles there as well. Okay. Can a federal skilled worker with 486 have chances to come to Canada under express entry? We will have to wait and watch how the draws play out. Do the government not test beforehand before rolling out, as this was passed in July 2022? It's hurting us, federal skilled worker, for their stupidity, sitting at 495 and still in limbo. I'm with you on that. And I cannot understand how. See, for example, IRCC knew about this change of NOC system more than a year back. They knew it in 2020 that this was going to happen. They knew it in 2021 that this was going to happen. They knew it throughout 2022 that this was going to happen. And in spite of all the money, all the resources, all the employees that they have, yet we are sitting with such a disaster and a fiasco. I'm sure they must have done the tests, but I'm not sure how well they do these tests and what kind of preparation that goes into it. It is extremely stupid. It is extremely ridiculous, to say the least. But unfortunately, we are here at the receiving end of things, and there is nothing in the world that we can do. Is 474 a good score? Well, unfortunately, I don't think it is, given the current situation. When you say CEC, I don't see any CEC specific draws happening at all. Currently, whatever draws are happening as are also CEC draws. If you think there are federal skilled workers in them, then you will be surprised. Very few federal skilled workers can actually cross 480, 490, except the fact that if they have a sibling or they have a PhD or they are francophones, and there are not too many of them. So with that, 474 CEC, in my opinion, I don't think is looking pretty good at this point of time based on the current situation and draws. When can we expect the draws to resume? In my opinion, I'm hoping for the 18th of Jan. That is the next expected draw. A lot of information on the profile, but it says, will that be enough after 2 to 3 years? Well, I don't know what's going to happen after 2 to 3 months. Leave aside telling you what's going to happen after 2 to 3 years. There is no way on earth anybody can speculate and tell you what score is going to be good after 2 to 3 years. It's just not possible. If you are planning a long route, a long journey, 2 years, 3 years down the line, then your attention should not be on CRS score. Your attention should be on provinces, on PNPs only. And at that point of time, by the way, if express entry is alive and running and you can score, then good. Otherwise, your attention and planning should be only for PNPs, not for express entry. Desperately waiting at 488. Hopefully, you should get it. Hopefully, fingers crossed. My wife is holding an open work permit. Now she is 43, currently in Toronto. She's targeting PSW job in RNIP. Okay, good luck. All the best. Application submitted, got nomination. My last working day was 30th September. Personal history, should I include my latest job post EEITA? Yes, you should, because you're submitting your application only now, and period from October to now, Jan, Feb, you have to indicate what you are doing. Tell me about Nova Scotia PNP. Well, you can check the Nova Scotia PNP website. It has all the information that you want. This is so unacceptable. We knew we screwed up. We know we screwed up, but no accountability, no plan, no communication. The fact that it was a private individual pulling teeth for information is unacceptable. I mean, there is absolutely no debate on your comment. Absolutely true. I agree with you. If only there was one thing that I can ask of IRCC, it is it is only communication. If I get a chance to speak to Sean Fraser ever, or whoever is the immigration minister ever, my only request to them is going to be to have more clear dialogue with the stakeholders and your clients, because you and we as the customers, we are all IRCC's clients, and we deserve to be told what's going on and what the plan is and what we can do, what we can anticipate, what we should. I mean, you guys shouldn't have to depend on my YouTube videos or channels to get any speculation. I mean, I'm not even giving you information half the time. I'm just giving you my speculation, my opinion. You shouldn't have to depend on this. You should be able to go to the IRCC website and have a clear cut information dialogue from IRCC which says, this is possible, this is going to happen, this is not going to happen, this is the date, this is what's happening. That would be brilliant. That would be like next world kind of a thing. But that's IRCC. Okay, how can we establish home ties while applying for SOWP apart from property application? A student and has no work history? Well, you show family, you show finances, you show real estate, whatever you can to establish that the person has any kind of ties. That is how you would go about doing it. Should I hope for the next OIMP tech draw? Well, why not? I mean, whenever the tech draw happens, it would be good. You should get invited. But also keep in mind, the Ontario tech draw, or any Ontario draw, is always in tandem with the last express entry draw. So whenever the last express entry draw will happen, like this time, it is going to happen at 500 plus. So Ontario's tech draw or general priority draw will be 1 point less than the last express entry draw. So the Ontario draw is also going to be extremely high. And now, with people are becoming smarter, nobody wants to wait for the next express entry draw. Anybody who will get any kind of Ontario notification of interest, they're all going to take it. So it's not going to be, something which at lower scores you are going to be very looking at it positively. But fingers crossed. Let's see how it goes with that. Too much of calculation, my head is spinning. I will not be able to do it. You need to complete 1,560 hours over 12 months period in order to calculate your 1 year of work experience, and so on as you go forward. If a complete stranger sends the fees for 1 year, do I need to provide proof of funds or have a spot? I mean, what do you mean complete stranger? I do not know what you mean by complete stranger, but yes, anybody can pay your school fees. That is not a problem. And yes, you still need to show proof of funds. You still need to show that you are financially capable to pay your remainder of your school fee, and you're financially capable to pay for your living expenses. I guess IRCC needs to import some good IT people and get a hold of their system. The system is just awful with so much money pumped. Here sitting at 495. I guess that was just a comment. Recently, a tech draw happened. I believe, yes, it did happen about a month back. What happened to other knocks if they start giving ITA based on C19 based specific knock? What are our next steps? Your next steps would be to increase increase French points, come to Canada as an international student, get Canadian work experience, or look at PNP options. Received Ontario Masters PNP, 484 scores. Scores will be 494. Should I apply? I would say if money is not the concern, then apply for the paper application, non-express entry anyways, and keep waiting for your express entry draw. If you get express entry draw, then you go with that one and withdraw that one. Is CPA, CA, CIA degree mandatory for knock 1111? No, it is not mandatory for this knock for express entry, not at all. Okay, sitting with 500, postgraduate work permit expired. Not sure if it was the right path, but applied for another study permit to extend the stay, disappointed and tired. I understand. I absolutely understand how it feels. If PNP target is different from federal skill, why do they keep conducting all program draws instead of doing PNP and then doing CEC like they used to prior to 2022? A lot of you don't realize or understand that PNP's target of 105,000, which is here, all of it is not express entry. Less than 20% of this will be linked to express entry. All the other PNP programs are non-express entry. and therefore they cannot only conduct draws for PNPs. Okay, all simple questions or questions. Do I need to maintain 6 months validity for ECOPR process? If you can, that's good. There is no requirement as such for the virtual landing for your passport validity to be for 6 months. If IELTS expired during PNP before getting final nomination, do I have to reappear for IELTS? Absolutely, yes, you have to, because you still need to be eligible for express entry. I'm working in a tech company. Shall I apply for tech pathway or should I wait for CEC? If you can apply for Alberta tech pathway, absolutely go for it. There is no problem with it at all. Can we consider work experience for CEC if we are traveling out of Canada and working remotely for 15-20 days? Canadian work experience is inside Canada, working inside Canada. Working from outside Canada does not constitute as Canadian work experience. Are there any chances of PNP nomination? I can't tell you. That is something which you will have to research yourself. TikTok has spoiled more lives than IRCC and IELTS combined. I agree with you 100%. So much of information there on TikTok, which is ridiculous. There is so much hype created from Reels and TikTok. If we explain the real situation here, people are thinking we are lying or else. I agree with you, right? Sometimes people send me TikTok videos and say, can you please explain to me whether this is true or not? I mean, like, you're not willing to accept what I am saying, but you're willing to accept for a random TikToker who is just doing this and this kind of rubbish and dancing and singing, and that you're willing to believe, but the serious stuff you don't want to believe. My IELTS score expired today. Okay, I guess this is all comments. Question here. Do you think that due to this ongoing glitch, C19 implementation goalpost could get shifted? It would get shifted, but not because of the pause of the draws. They've got nothing to do with the pause of the draws or this C9, the glitch. The current glitch has to do with the NOC systems. The C19 implementation goalpost will get shifted only because of their own incompetence of being able to, prepare the systems accordingly, not because of the current glitch. If Bill C19 is to consider inland TRs and they attach occupation specific, then it will still be difficult. It will be very difficult because even if you are inside Canada, Bill C19 may not save all the occupations. It would be targeting only certain occupations. If someone in their 40s can secure LMIA, what are the chances of getting PR after 1 year? You will have to do the calculation, figure out the points, and based on that, you can look at it. But you should be looking at PNPs rather than express entry. What a mess. From outside Canada, one gets points for higher education, which becomes problem in study visa. What to do? Make a good case, explain why, in spite of you having completed higher education, you still wish to come to Canada to study and how that is going to contribute towards your future career goals. I have an open work permit as a dependent on ICT. Can I land, work in Ontario? Can my children study in any part of Canada on study permit? Oh, yes. Yeah, no problem there. Of course, no problem. Thank you for your insights. Thank you. Appreciate it. I have submitted my profile. What's next? Only wait for IRCC to come back to you. No Canadian connection. Should I go for masters? If you wish to go for masters, most definitely do. Choose the province, which gives you some direct options for nominations. Okay, a lot of repeat questions. Let's see this one. I have a 6.5 in IELTS, no French, only English, applied for Saskatchewan, and with graduation. I've recently completed my MBA, yet waiting for degrees. I don't know what you're asking me. I mean, your profile, your scores with Saskatchewan is quite low, 61. Look at other options and see if you can improve your scores. My CRS score, we did this. Okay, my previous application was rejected for being incomplete. Fee will be refunded in the next application. Do I say yes to question about previous Canada refusal? Yes, you should say yes. Always be on the safe side of things. Never ever take a chance with that. My PR application biometrics have been updated, medical passed. When can I expect PR? The current processing time is average 6 months. So hopefully by that time, or rather within that time. I have got a PNP from Nova Scotia waiting for express entry. I have a PCC from India, which was issued in June. Should I apply for new PCC? if you got your PCC while you were outside India, and if you did not return back to India, then your PCC may still be valid. You can add a cover letter saying that I have got the PCC while being outside that country. I did not return back. Therefore, this PCC may be considered as valid. Any idea on IRCC action on stuck 2021 TR to PR special policy consideration? First of all, nobody's stuck. IRCC always has had the target to complete TR to PR applications until 2024. So, they are at this point of time, that is not their priority. So they are just taking it easy. They are processing it as they wish to. For people who are under TR to PR, you should not be freaking out at all, because you have the provision to apply for a bridge open work permit. So consider that the application will take time, because they've already announced it. That's the reason the quotas have been announced for 2023. And there is, I think, for 2020, I haven't seen it for 2024, but they have said that they would be issuing work permits validity until 2024, which gives you the indication that if they're giving you the work permit until 2024, then there is a possibility that TR to PR program processing can be extended for that period of time. I have got the PNP nomination. Should I be worried about Bill C-19? Bill C-19 doesn't touch you if you have a nomination. You're pretty cool. Thank you, Kubeir, for being honest and pragmatic about explaining immigration programs. Always a pleasure to see your videos. Thank you. Thank you for watching the videos. At least I know somebody is watching and thinking about them. 5 to 5.7 under employment section, I put my occupation as per Dubai resident permit, which is dependent on father and future PR application when showing this work experience. Is this a problem? As long as your work experience was valid, as long as you have documentation to prove it, it's not a problem. I got an ITA in November, but do you think slowness is due to IT portal? November, you're not even 2 months, man. Come on, chill, relax. The average processing time is 6 months. In 2 months, you're freaking out. People have been waiting for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years in some cases. So don't worry. Just relax. Understand that the timelines are 6 months average, and you will see the application going through. Don't worry. I have a solid score. I'm bilingual. We are already in EE. Do you have any other streams you could be interesting for us? I can't tell you based on what you have told me. And regardless of that, you should still do your research, check different provinces. There are 13 provinces and territories. Each of them have different programs. See where your options are. With being bilingual, you should have options in Saskatchewan. You should have options in New Brunswick. You should have options in Quebec. You should have options in Ontario. But take a look at those. Can I apply for my wife's PR while her open work permit application is still in process? Yes, of course you can. No problem with that. How does IRCC calculate the completion of 1 year? I started working in the first year of January. I noticed on 1st December itself, it qualified me as completion of 1 year. That happens primarily in express entry because the system calculates as per the month, year, and not as per the date. So for your starting month, it calculates from the first of the month. And for the ending month, it calculates as the first of that ending month, which automatically gives you your work experience qualification at the 1 month earlier. You can still, if you receive an idea, you can still accept it. You can continue with it, but submit your application only after you have completed your valid period of work experience. Okay, quite a similar questions coming through. LMIA exempt job offer can be claimed only after 12 months, or can it be done after 11 months for CEC eligibility? Well, you should only submit your application after you have completed 12 months of period. Any chances coming to LMIA points? Currently, the points given is 50 for job offer letter. Well, there are a lot of talks that the points for job offers may also be revised, but we have to wait and see how it goes. All right, so that's basically all I have for you today. Similar questions coming through, so I guess that's the cue for me to end. Again, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Thank you for joining in. I really appreciate you having taken the time. From my side, I will continue to provide you with all these trends, analysis, speculations. Speculation is my favorite subject, as and how they happen. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Please do press on the like button, boop on the like button, so this video goes out to more and more people, so that they can also take advantage of all the information that you've just seen. Thank you so much. Take care. Enjoy your day. Enjoy your weekend. and wish everyone out here a very, very happy new year, and hope this one is as prosperous as you wish for it to be.